Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat. Our next session, Indian Ocean Economic Conclave, is about to start. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our next session is about to start shortly. Distinguished guests, welcome again. Now, let me welcome you for the inaugural, titled Indian Ocean Economic Conclave. Please welcome our chair, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, former Union Minister from India. And our speakers, His Excellency Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf, Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion in Oman. And His Excellency Takuma Miyagi, Japan's State Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Good morning, friends. Let me welcome you to a very important part of this two-day event in which we are launching now a very forward-looking, very relevant, very important part of this Indian Ocean Initiative. There have been 8 editions of Indian Ocean Conference. I would say it just concluded because we are now starting a new part of this, extending part of this conference, which is how do you work on economic activities in the Indian Ocean countries and beyond. Actually, ever since the living human beings became seafarers, they actually ventured into the sea for economic reasons. They discovered something which they didn't know before, that you could actually go and eat fish. And in that particular time, they didn't know this word proteins, but they realized that that's what something is going to get them going. Any activity which is something or the other is not related to economy does not remain sustaining for long time. Now we talk sustainability in a different context nowadays, which encompasses many aspects of it, including environment as a major component of it. But if economy is not the underlying strong force for carrying out that activity, it doesn't remain for too long. And as we have seen, the oceans are actually the promoter of economic activity. What is shipped to the ocean is something obviously has economic content, but beyond that, there are many activities which are really related to the oceans and the seas. And now, because I just mentioned sustainability, now we are talking about renewable energy, clean energy. All of that can also come from the sea in a very significant way. When we are seeing all the time, there are waves coming up, the tidal energy, which is a source of a huge potential to generate energy, and Japan is doing a lot of work on that. Offshore wind is something which already in the North Sea, we have so many offshore wind projects coming up. But we have done a study in India that offshore wind potential of India, because we have 7,600 kilometers of coastline, only Indian, in the Indian Ocean, only Indian one country I'm talking about, the potential is upward of 70,000 megawatts. And now, again, Japan is leading that, is to find out from the seabed a source of renewable energy, hydrates. So just imagine that oceans are the source of huge potential for economic activity, source of energy, source of food and nutrition, source of tourism. In fact, that's a big economic activity. If you have so many cruises going from one part or the other to different exciting places, and that's the tourism which actually promotes economic activity. So just imagine the huge potential of economic activity that exists in the ocean, and therefore I'm really thankful to India Foundation, Mr. Ram Madhav, for thinking about extending this activity of Indian Ocean Initiative to now having economic conclave. This is the first ever, but we like to have it every edition of future Indian Ocean conference. We like to have that, along with so many companies, so many new products. They will get opportunity to display their inventions, their own possibilities of marketing their products. So this will be a great opportunity for people in the Indian Ocean region to also enhance their own economic potential. We have a very distinguished Minister of Oman, His Excellency, the Minister of Commerce. And I worked with him because when I was Minister of Commerce in India. But he is a very visionary leader. And I experienced that through my interactions. And they have signed FTAs with several countries of the world. And to mention one very important one, the country which is now putting trade as a part of the important foreign policy initiative. Trade is now becoming a very important instrument of public policy in that country. The largest economy of the world, US, and Oman have a FTA. So if you are in Oman, you get access to so many markets of the world, including the biggest economy, the United States of America. And we, in India, being such close neighbors, such close friends of Oman, on the cusp of signing an FTA anytime soon. And that will again open opportunities for many companies in India to come to Oman, get access to not just the GCC or the region, but also to the larger markets of the world. And Oman is located in such a strategic way that it's part of Indian Ocean for sure, but has access to other important seaways. So I think I'm very happy that you are going to talk about it. And Japan is one of the most important economy, now the third largest, but have been the second largest for a long, long time, and have played a very critical role. Obviously, Asia's largest, one of the very large part of technological development, innovation, everything happens. And they attach a lot of importance to sea because most of the energy that Japan uses in their own country is imported. So either you get LNG or you do that. Of course, you're also producing a lot of energy from nuclear sources, which is now regulated. But one of the very interesting part of this, Japan as a country is at the forefront of many important developments. But for me, and in context of the Indian Ocean Initiative, something interesting. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe signed an agreement, very interesting agreement, that not only will try to promote trade between these two countries, but will also promote trade in third countries. And that's something we started doing in Africa for promoting that. So just imagine, in this context of what we are discussing as Indian Ocean Economic Conclave, look at the potential of opportunities for working together in those countries which are members of the Indian Ocean community, but also going beyond. And that's an infinite opportunity. And that's what something India and Japan have already done, put in place. Again, when I was Commerce Industry Minister, we had actually implemented those projects. So we'd really like to hear from these two very significant, important leaders, one representing the Japanese government as the External Affairs Minister for State, one as a Commerce Minister, and we have seen how much energy they put behind a new project. We had put up, when I was the Minister of Fertilizers way back in 1999, we had put up OMIFCO, Oman India Fertilizers Company, which continues to be the largest single investment in Oman. And I would say I was thankful to him because His Majesty at that time gave us a gas rate which was incredibly low. Nobody could believe it is possible, but it happened. And that is now helping India's food security. And that's why we owe it to you to do something more to promote this idea. So let me open this discussion on a very important subject of economic opportunities, economic conclave, economic partnerships between Indian Ocean countries. So may I request His Excellency, my friend, to just make your remarks from there.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellency, Sayyid Badr bin Hamid al-Busaidi, Foreign Minister of Sultanate of Oman, Mr. Ram Medav, President of India Foundation, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to welcome you all here today to your second home, Sultanate of Oman, and brings me great pride to stand before this esteemed gathering at the 8th Indian Ocean Conference, and at today's gathering, the opening of the first of many, inshallah, of economic conclave. This platform dedicated to fostering maritime partnerships and economic integration across our region. I should mention that His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq has championed Oman's commitment to strengthening ties with our neighbors and fostering a regional economic ecosystem that promotes prosperity for all. This is guided by our vision, our 20-year vision, Oman 2040, which, like my dear friend, has been very generous with his words, and I also had the pleasure of working with him over the last few years. Two of important four pillars of Oman's Vision 2040 is sustainability and environment, and two is economic diversification. Trade has always been at the heart of Oman's identity. Centuries ago, Omani sailors set across the Indian Ocean, navigating as far as the eastern coast of Africa, India, and China. They traded frankincense, dates, and copper, returning with spices, textiles, and knowledge that enriched our civilization. That same maritime tradition continues today, with Oman serving as a strategic gateway between the East and the West. Always being a champion of trade from the bustling souks more than 5,000 years ago to our modern free zones and world-class ports. The Indian Ocean, like was mentioned yesterday, is not just a body of water. It's an economic lifeline. It facilitates nearly 80% of global oil trade and carries a significant portion of the world container traffic. The ports in this region handle billions of dollars in trade annually, yet we're only scratching the surface of our collective potential. To fully capitalize on this opportunity, I want to mention a few investment opportunities or areas. One is maritime infrastructure, and this is where Oman has taken this very seriously, and over the last more than 55 years, Oman has developed world-class ports and infrastructure and logistics hubs. This includes Sohar, Duqm, and Salalah to enhance trade efficiency. Asyad, our government's arm for logistics, has the digital trade platform streamlining customs clearance and cargo tracking. This together with the digital transformation in our customs and to ensure efficiency in custom clearance. And number two, to enhance partnership and free trade, Oman is really paying a lot of attention, like my dear friend Suresh has mentioned, in the free trade agreements. Oman has negotiated a bilateral FTA with the USA. This is one of 19 and two of only in the Gulf region that we have with the US, something we're very proud of. We're also part of the Greater Arab Free Trade Agreement and the GCC Common Market. Over the last 1 year, the GCC collectively, we have also entered into 3 agreements initially, which are with Pakistan, New Zealand, and Korea, and many more to come. Bilaterally, Oman is also discussing some partnership agreements that can enhance this area, because we believe, although the market here is maybe 5 million people, but we have access to more than 1 billion customers due to the free trade agreements. So this is a great opportunity to be in Oman. Number 3, harmonize the standards and regulation. Oman is working with the GCC Standardization Organization to unify industrial safety and quality regulations. We aim to implement digital certification customs systems to simplify compliance and reduce trade barriers. By taking these steps, we can strengthen our regional supply chains, boost economic resilience, and enhance our competitive advantage in global markets. However, while we discuss integration, we must also acknowledge the growing wave of deglobalization. Protectionist policies, supply chain disruptions, and economic fragmentation are disproportionately affecting developing economies in the global south. This shift is preventing many nations from achieving their sustainable development goals and economic ambitions. We must forge a new path, one that prioritizes regional cooperation and South-South trade integration. It's time for us to establish a more structured South-South trade union, one that leverages our collective strengths, facilitates intra-regional trade, and ensures that the wealth generated from our waters benefits our economies and our people. Such an alliance would increase trade flows between emerging economies in Africa, Middle East, and South Asia, reduce dependency on external markets, and strengthen our economic resilience, promote collaborative investment in sectors like renewable energy, logistics, and technology. In Oman, based on our comparative and competitive advantage, we actually are focusing in this 5-year development plan on 5 sectors, which we believe we have both comparative and competitive advantage. Some of them were mentioned earlier. One of them, tourism. Second is logistics. Third is food security. Fourth is mining. And 5 is manufacturing. I think these 5 sectors can be very well integrated in today's, with Oman's Vision 2040, and what we're talking about, the Indian Ocean Conference, looking at all the countries that we are partnering with. And of course, before I close, I would like to also acknowledge the presence of Mr. Naveen Jindal today, one of the large investors in Oman, and we really appreciate the long-term partnership we have. And that, why I mentioned Naveen, because in our investment policy, we actually don't look at investment as transactional. We look at it as partnership. Naveen has invested in Oman more than 10 or 15 years ago, and he has now more than doubled. Not only he is here now, but also his son. This is how we like to look at investments and look at how partnership work. It is long-term, it's in strategic locations, it's what can be benefiting. And we're looking at something even beyond with our neighboring and with our countries that are members of the Indian Ocean. How can we integrate that? How can we increase that through partnerships, through free trade agreements, through more trade? Because it's time that we actually look at these. Under the wise leadership of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, Oman remains committed to fostering regional economic integration, championing trade liberalization, and strengthening our maritime partnership. I invite each one of you to join us on this voyage of new horizons, a journey that ensures shared prosperity, economic sustainability, and a stronger, interconnected Indian Ocean region. Thank you.
I can say with my personal experience that whatever you have said actually happens in Oman in the shortest possible time. So it's a time for many of us who are looking for opportunities to make investments into Oman, to look at possibilities of furthering their businesses in Oman. I think the time is now. So I think, thank you very much. So let me request Mr. Miyaji-san, the State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Japan, to offer his comments. And Japan may look like a far away, but for most of the countries, Japan continues to be a very close friend, including India. So we really look forward to listening to you, please. Yeah.
His Excellency Kais, Minister of Commerce, Industry, and Investment of Oman, His Excellency Suresh Prabhu, former Minister, Government of India, distinguished guests, on behalf of the Government of Japan, I would like to commend you for hosting this Indian Ocean Conference. Oman actively hosts international conferences and is attracting global attention as a leading venue for meetings, incentives, or conferences and exhibitions, or MICE. And I would also like to extend my gratitude to the Indian Foundation, the Government of Oman, and the Government of India for inviting Japan to participate in this important gathering. The theme of this session is the economic conclave. In that context, I am reminded of the following line. The different streams, having their sources in different places, all mingle their water in the sea. These are the words of Swami Vivekananda, a prominent Indian religious leader. They are the same words used in 2007, when the then Prime Minister of Japan, Abe Shinzo, began his address to the Indian Parliament, entitled Confluence of the Two Seas. He stated that it was our responsibility to see the Pacific Ocean, which Japan faces, and the Indian Ocean as one, and to cooperate with like-minded countries in pursuit of freedom and prosperity in the region. For more than 17 years since that speech, the connections between the Indian Ocean, which links Asia and Africa and is a vital maritime transportation route, and the Pacific Ocean have grown stronger. Our common goal of viewing the entire region as a large economic zone and pursuing prosperity together has endured. However, compared to that time, we have entered an era in which cooperation and division are becoming more intertwined. Compound crises such as geopolitical competition and global challenges, including climate change, are rising. They are also intensifying in the Indian Ocean region, and the more vulnerable states in particular are feeling the impact. As an island nation, Japan has achieved its economic development by benefiting from free trade since the modern era. That is why I can say with confidence that the goal we have consistently pursued, a free and fair order that overcomes divisions, is an essential condition for bringing quality growth and prosperity to the Indo-Pacific region. Such prosperity should not be monopolistic, and all countries around the Indo-Pacific must be able to share equally in the fruits of growth across this vast economic zone, or else the region risks becoming even more divided. The underlying idea of a free and open Indo-Pacific, or FOIP, is not to exclude anyone or impose specific values, but rather to ensure the rule of law and lead the international community towards cooperation rather than division and confrontation. I would like to emphasize that this foundational vision of FOIP, which has been developed over almost 2 decades and has incorporated various voices from the international community, is crucial for the prosperity of the region. To put this vision into practice, in March 2023, Japan announced a new plan for FOIP, which sets out 4 pillars of cooperation. They are, first, principles for peace and rules for prosperity. Second, addressing challenges in an Indo-Pacific way. Third, multi-layered connectivities. And fourth, extending efforts for security and safe use of the sea and the air. Today, I would like to highlight the following 3 initiatives to which Japan attaches particular importance and call for cooperation with you all. First is to promote maintaining and strengthening our free and fair rule-based international economic order. Free trade and investment are the foundations of economic prosperity. At the same time, new challenges such as supply chain disruption and economic coercion are emerging. Working with our allies and like-minded partners, Japan will encourage efforts to protect our free and fair international economic order, while helping to strengthen resilience and mitigate risks to economic security. The dialogue on economic security, including strategic trade and technology, which we held for the first time with India last year, is one such initiative. In addition, to address challenges such as OPEC and unfair development finance, we will also work to comply with existing international rules and standards and provide support to countries that need it. Second, to protect the free oceans, it is essential to strengthen maritime law enforcement capabilities and efforts for maritime security. Under Official Security Assistance, or OSA, a new cooperation framework launched in 2023, Japan has decided to provide equipment and other items to the armed forces of 7 countries to improve their security capabilities. In that effort of maritime security, we are proud partners with Oman, which holds a strategically important position and appreciates deeply the importance of safeguarding the free ocean. The safe navigation of sea lanes, in which both countries have worked together closely, is indeed one of the key initiatives for the realization of FOIP. Third, connectivities. This large economic zone from Asia to the Middle East and Africa has vast potential, but to flourish, the region needs to be connected in a multi-layered manner. To this end, in Africa, for example, Japan is contributing to the promotion of trade throughout the region through the development of the port of Mombasa, a logistic hub in East Africa. We hope that the port of Duqm, which Oman is focusing on, will also become a key hub. Furthermore, Japan will host the Japan-India-Africa Business Forum this month, the outcome of which we hope will lead to Ticket 9 to be held in Yokohama this August. Distinguished guests, let us aspire together for a free, open, and interconnected prosperity based on the rule of law. Japan will continue to deepen cooperation with countries around the Indian Ocean on cross-regional issues and contribute to the region's growth. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
So thank you very much, Takuma-san, for providing a very comprehensive network, the comprehensive ideas about how really one should work on these ideas. And these 4 pillars are extremely important, and I think no structure can ever stand unless there are 4 pillars on it. So I hope we can really take it forward and make sure that we really build a superstructure of economic activity based on the ideas that you have just articulated. So one of the things I was just thinking aloud, that you have such 2 great institutions, JBIC and JICA, and they are the ones who really provide such strong support to so many countries, the ODI, the Overseas Development Assistance, that they give to so many countries, and India is the single largest recipient of that, incidentally. So this idea of economic conclave for Indian Ocean countries, I think you can really play a key role with METI as one of the strong holder of that, so we can really take it forward. So actually, as we normally do, we have a question-answer session, but I think the time is running out, and moreover, I think in an economic session, people don't want to waste time, but rather start doing business. And therefore, I think I will not take it forward in terms of business, but I'm sure many of you would like to meet both the excellencies and share your ideas with them during the break, after the session is over. Of course, it's going to be followed by lunch a little later, so you'll get ample time and opportunities. So let me conclude this session. As I said, this is the first inaugural session of Indian Ocean Economic Conclave. And we'll continue to build on that. as you've seen, every edition of Indian Ocean Conference is becoming better and better. So 8th one is certainly better than the 7th one and the previous ones. So I think as we build on that, the first inaugural session of this economic conclave will be the beginning of a new chapter in building closer relationship between all the community of nations of Indian Ocean countries. Thank you very much. All the best to you. Thank you both the excellencies for giving us such a fantastic oversight. Thank you very much. I think we are ending just right on time.
Thank you, Chair, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, and our speakers for ensuring such an engaging and productive session. Now, I would like to invite the Chair to present a token of gratitude to our speakers. His Excellency Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf, Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion. His Excellency Takuma Miyagi, State Minister for Foreign Affairs in Japan.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a happy announcement to make. After the special keynote and the panel session, we are going to have a brief 30-minute concluding session of the today conference, which will be in the form of an open house session. We could not give much time to delegates to share their views yesterday because we had a number of speeches. So in the open house, there will be some time devoted to delegates airing their views. I am happy and glad that His Excellency Syed Badr, the Foreign Minister of Oman, has kindly consented to be present and deliver the concluding words of the today conference. So please bear with us. We will probably go for lunch a little later than what is announced in the schedule. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me now invite Mr. Naveen Jindal, CMD of Jindal Group, to present a special address. The stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable dignitaries, His Excellency Syed Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, Honorable Foreign Minister of Oman, His Excellency Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf, Honorable Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion of Oman, my brother and friend, His Excellency Pankaj Khimji, His Excellency Takuma Miyagi, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Japan, Ms. Najla Al-Jamali, Chief Executive, Alternative Energy, OK Oman, Mr. Omar Al-Marizi, CEO, Ashiad Oman, esteemed members of the India Foundation, His Excellency Mr. Suresh Prabhu, former Minister, Government of India, Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, Chairman, Board of Trustees, India Foundation, Dr. Ram Madhav, President, India Foundation, my friend Shaurya Doval, Member, Governing Council, India Foundation, Indian Ambassador, Mr. Amit Narang, senior ministers, ambassadors, envoys, excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, my brothers and sisters. It is my privilege to stand before you today at the 8th Indian Ocean Conference, a unique forum that since its inception in 2016 in Singapore has been setting the agenda on how to unite and build consensus around shared interests in our common home and lifeline, the Indian Ocean region, IOR. Over the last 8 years, the flagship conference of Indian Foundation has brought together government officials, corporate executives, and intellectuals from dozens of countries to deliberate on key challenges and problems being faced in the IOR and the solutions to them. It is befitting that the Sultanate of Oman, which has historically played a leading role in trade, commerce, and conflict resolution in the western side of the IOR, is hosting this year's conference. I extend my deepest appreciation to the government of Oman for their remarkable efforts in organizing this event. Let's give them a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Their dedication to fostering meaningful dialogue has been instrumental in shaping maritime cooperation in the region. I believe that the best concept which meets the interests of the IOR's 33 countries and the 2.9 billion people is security and growth for all in the region. Sagar. This term was coined by the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, as part of his vision for an inclusive and democratic IOR, where the smallest and least developed countries have as much say and voice in shaping regional affairs as the big players. Modi ji, as we call him affectionately, has remarked that he considers small island countries as large ocean states, which deserve respect, dignity, and empowerment. Yesterday, the Honorable External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. Jaishankar, said in his keynote address at this conference that India is shouldering responsibilities, stepping up in times of trouble and providing leadership where required. He listed 10 specific examples on how India is taking the entire IOR along as it rises to become a leading power in the world. The multiple initiatives, institutions, and energies which India has brought to the table for making the IOR more integrated, cooperative, and connected show that it is possible to build a secure and prosperous region through visionary leadership and direction. I assure you that we in India will always look out for the best interests of the people of the whole IOR and be there in times of need. India's history as an oceanic power and as a major hub for international business, commerce, and trade makes its role in the IOR the most central of all. I am so pleased to see that the India Foundation, led by Dr. Ram Madhav, is demonstrating through this conference that India can convene all the stakeholders of the IOR under one umbrella and show the world that the Indian motto of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, that the world is one family, can be realized through far-sighted vision and dialogue. I am convinced that this conference is now part of the regional architecture building process in the IOR, and that without this conference, we will not be able to advance our collective goals to ensure safe trade corridors, enable freedom of navigation, and foster environmentally sustainable economic growth. As a representative of Indian and Omani business, I feel that we must prioritize economic integration and connectivity in the IOR to maximize the benefits. Like His Excellency, Mr. Suresh Prabhu was also mentioning. And this is important to realize the abundant natural resources and the entrepreneurial people. The water of the same ocean touches shores of the 33 countries of IOR. Our fortunes are all tied to this water, and we must manage differences and disputes and work our pragmatic agreements that remove hurdles to freer trade and investment in the region. Friends, as we enhance maritime cooperation, integrating sustainability and decarbonization efforts will be very crucial. Crucial to ensure long-term economic and environmental resilience. At the Jindal Group, we are proud to be contributing to industrialization in the IOR, such as our plants and projects, especially to make steel in Oman. As a committed investor operating in Oman, I have personally witnessed the ambition and commitment to economic prosperity that define this nation. Oman's forward-looking policies, strategic investments, and focus on sustainable development create an environment that is both dynamic and investor-friendly. The ability of foreign investors from India and elsewhere to make a difference to lives of ordinary people in countries of the IOR rests on the ease of doing business in that country. We at the Jindal Group are very grateful to the Sultanate of Oman for their hospitality, for the conducive investment environment here. And that is why we came here almost 15 years ago, and this is a second home to us now. And we are very encouraged that our investment is doing very well, and we are able to increase our investments here and really prospering with these investments. So thank you very much for the kind words that the Minister of Commerce, Mr. Kais, you mentioned. Thank you. Since this conference is happening in Oman, I want to make a special mention of the Gulf Cooperation Council, which is India's largest regional trading partner, accounting for approximately 15% of India's total trade. Strengthening economic and strategic partnerships in this region is a top priority of Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi. His personal attention to fostering mutually beneficial ties with Oman, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Kuwait, to name just a few, has helped realize India's Look West policy in a concrete way. As a Member of Parliament from India representing 2.7 million people, I feel proud that it is in the era of Prime Minister Modi that India has maximized its presence, influence, and contribution to the western part of the IOR, where the GCC countries are located. Indian migrants, technicians, managers, and corporates are now so well integrated into the economies of the Gulf that for most of us, Muscat, Sohar, Dubai, Jeddah, or Doha are like second home. The close cultural affinities and similarities between Indians and Arabs are the close-knit economic partnerships between them show how we can truly realize the potential of an IOR that is essentially one vast region with national barriers that can be reduced for free movement of people, goods, and money. I want to assure all of you that Indian business will drive investments, diversify supply chains, and integrate value chains to strengthen mutual economic prosperity. We are keen to explore new opportunities for growth and enhance existing trade relations through free trade agreements that increase market access and generate benefits for economies throughout the region. India, as the world's fastest growing major economy, which is already the 5th largest and is projected to be soon the 3rd largest economy, is open to collaborations with like-minded countries through value propositions and integrated supply chains. By fostering friendly agreements, we can unlock new opportunities, drive regional growth, and ensure long-term prosperity. In conclusion, looking at this amazing gathering of so many representatives from so many countries of the IOR, I feel confident that our collective future is going to be brighter than our present. With compassion for each other and enduring bonds of friendship, we can ensure that Indian Ocean remains a vital link for global trade, economic growth, and environmental responsibility. Let us continue our oceanic voyage with a sense of destiny and a will to overcome all obstacles. I am grateful to the Indian Foundation, especially Mr. Ram Madhav, for his gracious invitation to come and attend this conference. And I'm very grateful to the Sultanate of Oman for their very kind hospitality. Thank you very much.
I thank Mr. Naveen Jindal, and I call now Ms. Lujaina Mohsen Haider Darwish to present a token of gratitude. So I'll have to call you again, Mr. Naveen, to the stage. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, next on our list today, a plenary titled Indian Ocean Economic Conclave. Let us together welcome the Chair, Mr. Shauriya Doval, Member Governing Council of India Foundation. Our speakers, Mr. Asam Shaybani, VP Sustainability, Asyad Oman, Ms. Najla Al-Jamali, Chief Executive Alternative Energy of OQ Oman, and Ashwani Gupta, CEO Adani Ports and CSEZ India. Welcome all.
Good morning, everybody. This is one of the final panels for this Indian Ocean Conference, and this panel is a business panel. And as you would have seen in your schedules, this panel is non-thematic. We don't have a theme for this panel because we thought this would be a freewheeling discussions where we have 3 businesses, 2 from Oman and 1 from India, to come and talk to you about how they look at the Indian Ocean region and how they look at the business in the Indian Ocean region. You know, we've talked about the geopolitics of the Indian Ocean region for the last day and a half. But Indian Ocean is also a very big economic system or economic subsystem. You know, as it's a big market. It houses 2 billion people, which is about 25% of the humanity. It is 20% of the global GDP, which has been growing at the rate of about 6% for the last 10, 15 years. As was pointed out yesterday, 80% of the maritime oil trade passes through this. 40% of the world trade is in this region. So this is home to many businesses and to a big economic structure. And in any economic structure, businesses play a very important role. And, you know, as we've spoken in the last day and a half in terms of geopolitics, one of the underlying themes of this conference, actually for the last so many years since we've been doing this, has been that the Indian Ocean is not about might is right. It's about right is right. And everybody here matters equally. All the nation states are equal participants. I think that's exactly the philosophy that we want to think about in terms of business, when we think about business in this region. Business is about creating shared prosperity. It's not about creating economic growth or economic prosperity for one at the expense of other. So I think I'm lucky to have here in this panel, the three panelists who will each look at it from how they look at their own businesses, but then how they also look at this as shared prosperity for the region. And Naveen just very rightly said that he's both an Indian and an Omani business. That's the kind of business we should be thinking when we look in this region. So with this, I would invite my first panelist, Madam Naila Al-Jamali, who's the CEO of Alternative Energy OQ in Oman, to please come and give her views. You can sit and do, or you can go to the stage, whatever you prefer.
I was thinking of just sitting down.
Perfectly fine.
I think we've had a lot of people stand up and give speeches.
Yes.
And then maybe if we can make it a bit more interactive. Sorry, am I throwing you off script this way?
No, if you could speak for about 10, 15 minutes, and then at the end we will make it interactive. Yes. We'll open it up for Q&A.
All right. I will speak a little bit about OQ, alternative energy, where it sits. I will also speak about how we see how we take advantage of Oman's geographic location on the Indian Ocean, plus where we see OQ alternative energy basically taking a part into the logistics and taking logistics into the energy transition and helping get to net zero for the logistics sector. If I look at OQ alternative energy, it's part of OQ, which is a state-owned entity. We cover a variety of pillars, let's say, within the decarbonization space. So we look at decarbonizing OQ and spearheading energy transition for OQ. Within that, I look at things such as energy efficiency. So we look at how do we ensure that we are utilizing energy in the most efficient manner for OQ and by extension for the country. We look at clean energy. What do we do around ensuring that we convert our existing assets into clean energy, but also how do we propel the energy transition or green industry? And one example is we have partnerships with Vulcan Green Steel to develop renewable power for them. We look at also low carbon molecules, the development of low carbon molecules. OQ is traditionally an integrated energy company that looks at oil and gas, petrochemicals, chemicals. One of our assets is the Oman India fertilizer company that was also mentioned earlier. So we are very familiar with producing molecules. How do we make them low carbon? The foray into green hydrogen as an example. And then negative emission technologies. So, and then if we then look at what are we doing within that space and how do we make advantage of the location where we're at? Oman is blessed to be faced on the Indian Ocean. With that, it allows us to make full use of the sun. Plus what we get is the strong winds coming through from the Indian Ocean, which means that we have two regions, the Duqm region, which was mentioned previously, as well as the far region that allows us to get very high wind speeds, which means the complementarity between solar and wind gives us a number of hours across the day, almost 24 hours, where we can get renewable power. That then allows us to have a nice basis to create renewable power, not just that goes into energy, but also to produce low carbon molecules. And then if I look at basically what are we doing in terms of how do we support maritime and how do we support logistics, a number of areas where we're looking at producing or investigating the production of low carbon fuels. We are looking at the shipping industry, which I think you'll talk about, the ammonia and methanol. So there's an area where we can look at producing green ammonia, e-methanol or low carbon methanol. How can we support within creating even the hubs within the ports itself to be running as a net zero port? Those are the kind of areas where we look at. So that's kind of gives you a flavor of what we do within OQ Alternative Energy. We've been named as the national champion for renewable energy by the government. That allows us to supply oil and gas industrial players with renewable power should they wish to use green power. We're also within the green hydrogen space, we have a number of hydrogen projects. If I look at my pipeline within clean energy, I've got maybe over between 7 to 10 gigawatts of in the pipeline. If I look at my green hydrogen projects, similar in terms of magnitude, and then I have back-end rights into other green hydrogen projects that are within the country.
Well, thank you. That's a comprehensive overview of the business. I now request Mr. Ashwini Gupta, CEO of Adani Ports and SEZ, to come and share with us his views and tell us about his business as well.
Dear His Excellencies, Shri Ram Madhav Ji, Shri Shaurya Duvul Ji, and all the dignitaries. In the embrace of the Indian Ocean's tide, where whispers of ancient mariners and dreams converge, we gather to chart a course for a future of shared prosperity and collaboration. It is a great pleasure to join all of you in Muscat for the 8th Indian Ocean Conference. While Adani Ports and SEZ has been a proud IOC partner since its inception, this is my first experience attending an IOC conference, which has been truly wonderful. My heartfelt thanks go to Sultanate of Oman, India Foundation, the entire IOC team, and for their warm welcome and gracious hospitality in bringing us all together. As we gather here, we are recognizing the vast potential of the Indian Ocean region and celebrating our shared vision for sustainable economical growth and maritime excellence. The Indian Ocean hosts major sea routes that connect the Middle East, Africa, and East Asia with Europe and Americas. These routes are crucial for global trade, and as we heard yesterday, carrying over 1/3 of the world's bulk cargo traffic and 2/3 of the world's oil shipments. To harness this potential, as our Honorable Foreign Minister Dr. Jaishankar mentioned yesterday, it is essential that we enhance connectivity through initiatives such as IMAC, IMTT, and INSTC. These efforts will pave the way for new economic corridors, boost regional trade, and drive sustainable development across the Indian Ocean region. India has emerged as one of the fastest growing major economies globally, with a projected GDP growth rate of 6 to 7% in coming years. This growth is closely linked to our strategic position along the Indian Ocean, which serves as a gateway for the trade routes in Global South. As global trade continues to expand, the maritime sector is becoming increasingly critical to sustaining this economical momentum. Under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Modi ji, the Indian government recognizes the importance of enhancing maritime capabilities, investing in modern port infrastructure, and supporting multimodal logistic networks. Initiatives like Sagarmala project aim to improve the efficiency, hence facilitating trade from first mile to the last mile. India, currently the 5th largest economy in the world, is expected to become the 3rd largest by 2030. It is experiencing a significant growth in its maritime sector. As we delve into India's growth story, we must acknowledge the pivotal role of our maritime sector. Our coastline stretches over 7,500 kilometers, providing us with unparalleled access to international markets. Ports play a crucial role in fulfilling this ambition, with 95% of India's trade by volume and 70% by value being facilitated through maritime routes. India has significantly improved its ranking in the international shipment category of the World Bank Logistics Performance Index, moving from 44th position to 22nd position. Container turnaround times have decreased by more than 50%, and the median turnaround time has reached just 0.9 days, outperforming countries like United States and many others. India's macroeconomic narrative will continue to propel cargo volumes through industrialization, infrastructure development, energy transition, and agriculture advancement. During 2024-2025, we saw an increase of more than 5%, and this is going to continue in the future. Now, to harness this immense potential, we at Adani Ports and SEZ have made substantial investments in port infrastructure and logistics, significantly enhancing our capabilities. We, as truly global multinational, is dedicated to enriching people's life while contributing to the growth of the nation through robust maritime partnerships. However, we alone as single organization cannot achieve it, and that's where the collaboration is essential. Our strength as an integrated transport utility company lies in our extensive network spanning from India's east coast to south coast and to the west coast. We feature 15 ports, 42 terminals, 146 marine vessels, 12 multi-modal logistic parks, 3.1 million square feet of warehouses, and a land parcel with a combined capacity approximately 633 million metric tons. Our strategic locations, infrastructure ensure that goods can be efficiently transported to and from the inland areas, which means we cover more than 90% of the India's hinterland that can be accessed through our network, which makes us India's largest integrated transport utility company. We position ourselves as a leader in the India port sector by prioritizing key performance metrics for operational excellence. Through the adoption of advanced technologies and industry's best practices, we have achieved remarkable productivity across our ports, and especially Mundra being the largest commercial port in India. Today, we hold 27% of market share in overall cargo, but in container, we hold 47% of the market share, which means 1 out of 2 container which comes in or out in India is handled by us. Our focus on cargo diversification and last mile delivery through multimodal logistics has been the key to our success. I take pride in stating that Adani Ports and Logistics designs, develops, and most important, operates the whole maritime ecosystem from waterfront till the last mile to the customer. This is why we say we are not just moving containers, we are moving the nation. We are strategically targeting a remarkable 1 billion metric ton in cargo volumes by the year 2030. This ambitious goal reflects our commitment to scaling operations and enhancing our capacity. Dear delegates, I would like to share 2 examples which I thought to share with you after listening yesterday to His Excellency. These 2 examples about the 2 main contributions we are doing to the trade in the global south. And this is purely driven by technology and talent. The first is the Vizhinjam Transshipment Port in Kerala, which we just started. And the second, the CWIT in Colombo, which we are going to start very soon. So first we talk about Vizhinjam. Vizhinjam is India's first automated deep water transshipment port, strategically located at 10 nautical miles from the busy international shipping route connecting Europe, the Persian Gulf, and the Far East. This port is designed to handle ultra-large container ships, first time in India, reducing India's reliance on foreign transshipment hubs. Today, 75% of India's transshipment is handled abroad, but now Vizhinjam is going to handle it, which means less cost and less time. Similarly, we are now commissioning the state-of-art automated container terminal in Colombo, exceeding 3.2 million capacity. This CWIT represents the largest foreign direct investment by an Indian company in Sri Lanka. The project is anticipated to significantly transform Colombo's social-economic landscape and enhance the trade and commerce ecosystem between Sri Lanka and India. The third, our container terminal at Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, has significantly enhanced port efficiency, and now 83% of Tanzania's container volume is handled by us. These are all technology-driven ports. The second focus for us is on the talent, because we do believe that people run the business. And in addition to the hardware, it's important for us to prepare the skill and competencies. And as our chairman, Shri Gautam Adani, believes, growth goes beyond business metrics. It's about the real impact we can create. Our mission is to touch lives, nourish communities, and inspire futures. We take pride in empowering local talent, and I can confidently say we are the only player in this region providing opportunities for locals to lead our port businesses, from operator till the CEO of the port. Many of our leaders hail from these communities who have a strong sense of ownership among our employees. We also started Adani Skill Development Center, where we have already trained 160,000 youth, acquiring 68% jobs, not only with us, but with the community. And this is the impact which we are making in the talent scaling up in terms of skills and competencies. Wherever we go, our mission is to be a world-class leader in business through sustainable value creation. Referring to discussions yesterday, how about sustainability? On one side, we have growth. On the other side, we have sustainability. For us, it goes hands in hands. We are committed to integrate sustainability. We aim to achieve net zero emissions by 2040, well ahead of India's NDC commitments, and with all of our ports in India run on 100% renewable energy by end of this year. We have invested significantly in 1,000 megawatt in our world's largest renewable energy park, 30 gigawatt, to fuel all of our ports and logistics. These key initiatives also includes zero waste to landfill across our ports and the water intensity. Now, when we come to the Global South, we have already invested close to $2.5 billion in the whole maritime, creating over thousands of direct and indirect employment and local business opportunities. This investment underscores our commitment to foster economic growth and development in the local markets. Moving forward, we have aspiration to become largest private integrated transport company in Global South. We take this pride that we already established ourselves in 4 key locations: Tanzania, Colombo, Australia, Haifa, and studying many potential opportunities in the Global South, including Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and so on. And I request the dignitaries to please collaborate with us in unleashing this potential in the Global South. Together, we embark on a voyage to new horizons of maritime partnerships, shaping a resilient and interconnected future. Let's continue to navigate towards a prosperous and sustainable future. And finally, I conclude by saying, in the waves of the ocean lies a story. On every shore, there is a mark of glory. Together we journey, hand in hand, For the progress of every nation, that's our stand. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your hospitality.
Thank you, Ashwini. Our next speaker is Mr. Ehsan Al-Sharsbari, a VP Sustainability, Jindal Group, Oman. I now hand over the mic to him. Do you want to give him this one?
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. I'll just use the same style of Najla. I think we get used to this as a commercial business. We move very fast. But mainly to introduce Asyad. Asyad is it's a group of company where it's end-to-end logistic company where it's operate shipping lines, ports, free zones, last mile delivery. Similar to Adani Group where it's a deliver first mile and last mile delivery. We operate, our lines connects 86 countries among 160 plus ports around the world. Our port, our state-of-the-art port of Salalah is ranked number 2 based on United Nations Commerce and Trade in terms of efficiency because of the handling capacity that it has. It used to be have 4.5 million TEUs that they operate in the past few years. Now we expand the ports to become 6 million starting from this month of February. We expanded the port to become even larger port in the region. That's ranked 2 in the region and 2 on the world as well in terms of operation efficiency in terms of the ports. We have the new ports, as I mentioned by His Excellency. The port of Duqm will become the energy hub of the nation, where it connects east and west in terms of the green molecules that we see in the future, or any kind of green. We're moving the oil and gas businesses to a port of Duqm where it become a green hub, or the future oil and gas businesses for the nation that connecting what the world. It's open to the oceans where it gives a lot of opportunities, a lot of chances, including where we're going green. We have focusing on the tidal energy that can supply the port as well from that kind of end. Moving to the Arabian Gateway or the Gulf Gateway is Sohar port, where we consider it as the gateway of the Gulf, where all the shipments pass through the Gulf nation, pass by to Sohar, and it's passed by also to our nation where it's the main hub. It's connected to a state-of-the-art a dry port, where it's connected, where you can do clearance in a place where closer to Muscat, which is Khazain, which is a warehousing system, a state-of-the-art warehousing connected to a warehousing dry port, and in the future, inshallah, will be connected with the railway. So that's in terms of the port and services. The free zones are classified into 2, mainly in Sohar and in Salalah, where the 2 main hubs, while we collaborating with the CZAD in Duqm to operate the free zones where we bring attracting businesses. All these are free zones. But then we go to last mile delivery. Last mile delivery, we have 50 plus branches of Etihad Express, which is our last mile delivery arm, connected with the postal services that we do both. And then we have a unique business to Oman, to Asyad as well, which is Asyad Dry Dock. It's a dry dock company where we do ship repairs. We build the smaller ships, such as tugboats, smaller boats that we operated. But again, it is one of the largest in terms of the size in the region, and the second in terms of the technology and capacity in the region as well in terms of dry docking or ship repairs. We also have a unique technology, which is the floating dock. It's one of the unique one we are proud of in the region, where we have a floating dock, where a dock float in the ships, and then we can do a repair for it. This is all part of our line of businesses in the region. Going back to the green corridors or the green movement, as Najla says, we are collaborating with OQ Alternative Energy in developing low molecules fuel, where it can fuel the nation, mainly focusing on green corridors. This is connecting main ports. Our key focus is that how we connect the west with the east by connecting the port of Rotterdam in Netherlands with Oman, and then connecting it all the way to the port of Singapore, where we can provide a green fuel or green corridor throughout this route. We've been working to do a study, mainly how we can deliver these molecules that can cater for this kind of nation, and then they can connect it to the world. So the green corridors is a key aspect of it. The many initiative in terms of green, even we have one of the state-of-the-art, I think one of a unique one, which is one of our ships, we call it Suhar Max, where actually it's one of the ships that we install a rotor, where this rotor able to us to reduce 9% of the fuel consumption currently used by using rotor fuel or rotor wind. It's an old technology or old method, but again with new technology developed, still under sea trials. And once it's achieved its trials or objectives, we will see a good reduction in terms of fuel, which is enable us in moving out to green. There is many green initiative for our shipping lines that enable us to become not only a maritime operator, but again, the green maritime operator in the region where we are proud of in the nations.
Thank you, Mr. Asad, for that very nice talk on the group. We now have some time to open it up for any Q&A that the audience may have. But before they ask a question, I have a question in my mind that I want to ask you all. You know, we have two businesses here. One is a big infrastructure player and one is an alternative energy company. And as you would have heard in these last 1.5 days, one of the biggest challenges facing this region, particularly the small countries, is the rising sea levels and climate change, which is affecting their, not just their economics, but their survival. My question that comes to my mind is that, you know, if you've got such kind of companies in this region, you know, you've got great execution capabilities, what would you like policy planners to do that allow you to be able to develop that as a business in this market itself, rather than wait for somebody else to come and find a solution for these countries? These are small countries. Their economies are small. So, you know, how do we bring scale and size? And what would the businesses like you like to see for you to be able to do, to bring solutions to their problems and yet make money while doing so? So I can open this question to either you yourself or you or both of you in whatever form.
Thank you for for the question, and I think that's a great point to talk about, because economy of scale is the prime driver for any business sustainability. Having said that, there are ways to make the business case viable if we are addressing each business touch point of that business. So let me give you an example. So maybe, you know, the country would have, let me say, a shipment cargo volume of, let's say, 4 million with already existing 2, 3, 4 ports. Definitely, from economy of scale viewpoint, it won't make business sense. But if that 4 million is connected to the interland, which means we are connecting first mile to the last mile, where port is important, but surrounding area of the port, which is, you know, the free zone, then comes the railways, then comes the warehousing, and then comes the road logistics. So if we are considering first mile to last mile, even if with a small economy of scale, business does make sense, and this is what we are doing. For example, you know, in Tanzania, this is what we want to do in Sri Lanka, and this is what we want to do in all the countries where the economy of scale to start with is less.
And for
I think I have an experience with the Indian technologies. In India, there is a massive development on the technology for a green movement, either electrolyzers, solars, and etc. The supply chain getting always cheaper and cheaper in India. But again, this is focused on decarbonizing or moving India to a greener molecule. The requirement for India itself is so huge, so big to reach net zero. If we manage to export that technology to other nations, that will be even accelerated even further on a faster pace. Because India itself, it's a massive and big, but the competition in India is so big that we encourage that they also go outside India. We have a touch base of many brilliant technologies that we have, that India has, If that could be exported to nations, smaller nations, as you mentioned, that require these technologies, they could expedite their line of movement and even move further to this decarbonization of the nation, or even to apply solar technology as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably expand on what Assam said. When you look at smaller nations, I guess they probably have a smaller carbon footprint, so it'll be very easy for them to go onto the energy transition journey through solar, through wind. Islands can maybe look at also tidal. That's how I would see it.
Okay. Yes. May I now? I think we have a few questions. If you could please walk up to the stage and well, then we'll take the question from the lady at the back after this.
Hi, my name is Atul. I'm from Singapore and I'm from Global Schools Foundation. My question is related to the cyber under the sea, and I know there was some mention, but I've got a slightly different angle. You know, what we know today is when we make a post on Facebook or Google search, actually, your search is actually going straight from, let's say, Muscat to Angola to the East Coast in the United States. It's all under the sea. And we know that this is happening in milliseconds, and everybody is trying to do this. In the past, there have been telecom companies which have been the providers of these undersea cables. But today, you have corporates. And I was just looking at some data. You've got about 500 companies running 1.3 million kilometers of undersea cables for data traffic. These companies are now, the corporates are now providing more data cables under the sea. And as a result, they're going to be laying far more number of cables, maybe to the extent of 10 million kilometers. I think what is happening is the entire cyber infrastructure, the digital infrastructure is coming below the sea for everyone. And while there are many supply points and exit points, but we need to look at it from a policy perspective, and perhaps somebody can, from the panel, address what protection can we provide to the undersea digital infrastructure from a policy and a state perspective, and how do we protect the traffic for our future generations? Thank you.
Any of you? Why don't you? I mean, the question could also be that should we even be thinking to make it sustainable? Is protectionism also something business would want in this region if it was possible?
Yeah, I would put it in a way that sometimes we think that cyber security is a challenge, and then we get stuck into it. I would say that cyber security is an opportunity to improve the connectivity, which means we have to invest in the technologies, which is on one side protecting us from cyber, but also on the side enabling us from first mile to last mile. And why I'm saying so is I take it in a much more holistic picture. If I am, let me say, in one of the rural area, and I have ordered a shipment which is coming from United States or somewhere, am I able to track my shipment where it is today, whether it is in ship, whether it is in the port, whether it is on the train, whether it is on the truck, or whether it is in the warehouse? Answer is no. And why? Because we don't have today a technology platform which connects all the business touch points from first mile to last mile. So I would put it in a way, from policy viewpoint, if we are collaborating in a region where many regions are involved, where the boundaries are involved, we have to have a technology platform which is plug in and plug out, which is protecting on one side the cyber-related issues, but on the other side, enabling business to improve their efficiencies and effectiveness.
I would just to add more is sometimes as being late is being a blessed, not being a challenge. So maybe we are slowing down in applying a lot of technology, or be reluctant into selection what the technology that we apply into our systems, and that way to address some of the challenges such as cybersecurity. Cybersecurity in the last year was a top 10 risk in the World Economic Forum risk. And we, as a nation and as a company, we have taken this seriously, particularly where we operate in the maritime world, where we applied a state-of-the-art of the new development applications where it's addressed very much as cybersecurity. And then as a nation, we collectively work with different agencies in Oman where how we can tackle this. So even the small or minor threats that we see before even reach a risk, that we address it seriously and then we tackle it. So that's from a cybersecurity. From the maritime or the underwater cables, I think we enforce all the international treaties, and then we part of the IMO where we follow MARPOL, SOLAS, and all the international agreement that's been signed is mainly to protect such a infrastructure that governs free maritime trade or security, or even an attack or a threat that's governed through this maritime. So if we want to tackle such a challenge, it had to go through international treaties that we develop as a maritime laws applies within all the maritime shipping companies.
Thank you. So Hasini, okay.
Good morning. So Hasini Haider from the Hindu newspaper. My question is for Mr. Gupta, but anyone else who'd like to take a crack at it. The Indian Ocean region is full of a lot of democracies. And what we have seen in the last few years, particularly months, is a number of these big projects, particularly the ones that the Adani Group is involved in, whether it's in Kenya, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, other countries, seem to get renegotiated, or they get reviewed, get reopened. Are there lessons to be learned on how to deal with democracies where there's not necessarily a longer span to deal with? And is the Adani Group itself rethinking how they negotiate with each of these countries?
Well, wherever we go with the very important objective, which is we go with the top line growth and the bottom line growth. So that's the basic thing, right? To drive the top line growth and the bottom line growth, we have to collectively work with all the stakeholders, and that's what we do, and that's what is the basic principle of wherever we go.
I think, Suhasini, this question is too wide for any one group to really answer. But it leaves, because you've got a lot of policy planners here in this room also, there is some food for thought that, should we have a much more, if you want businesses in this region to succeed and to give scale and size and find solutions to the problem in this region, should there be an architecture in place which gives them certainty of contract? Despite the fact that there were regime changes and government changes in this region, which many of them as democracies, because business needs stability of contract to be sustainable. But
yeah, I would add on it. I mean, the point is not only international, right? In India, we are running 15 ports, right? And every port is in a different state.
That's true.
And we have policies driven by federal, we have policies driven by state. We have concession agreements with exclusivities, across the 15 ports, and we have to manage it. And I think what's very important is to have a policy framework which is mutually understandable and agreed. And then based on that policy framework, how the business case, short-term, mid-term, and long-term, is viable. And if that is fine, I think that's fine.
Okay. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Swasti Rao. I'm an associate professor at the OP Jindal Global University from India. And I have a question for the panel, but anybody can take it up. I've been working on the connectivity, and especially how that has been disrupted after tensions in the Red Sea. And I've been, if you look at the Indian government's push, what we're trying is that we're trying for building more strategic gateways into Europe. So Prime Minister went to Marseille, you're looking at Trieste, etc. But I've been following the Omani model, actually, Your Excellency, and I have been noticing that to avoid the Red Sea disruption, you've also taken the overland route and tried to avoid it. So from your experience, I would like to understand better how has your company, I've been reading some reports that got out in 2024 about how have you tried to sort of, reroute those exports, not just via the Cape of Good Hope, but also this overland route, and what has been the logistics for it? And if there are any lessons that here in India can we learn from it? Thank you.
Sure. I think actually we started looking into the tension in the Red Sea as a challenge, but again as opportunity in the beginning, and that's why we start to utilize the other ports. We have already a full capacity port in Salalah. Then we utilize the port of Duqm as a second port to use for transshipments, mainly transporting goods from west to east. However, that was only a short time. A short-term solution. Till then, the insurance, any ships pass by through the Red Sea had pick up very high. And then if you compare insurance charges, or they call it water insurance, versus the fuel cost, which fuel is very cheaper, and the Cape was the ultimate solution for it. It was only for a shorter span of time where we see there is a really demand on passing by through the Red Sea until the insurance pick up, and then the cost of fuel was negligible comparing the insurance that would pay. So everyone was going through the Cape. That was an immediate solution. The only routes was left over, I think, was for the LNG ships. LNG ships was attractive because LNG was needed in a short span of time, comparing going to the Cape. So people in the LNG market were happy to pay even a high premium, provided that deliver and a fast route base. And that was only, and then we managed to deliver one ship, one cargo through that, through the Red Sea to Europe using the LNG. I think this is where the diplomacy play a big part. Oman is a neutral country where we have a peace with everyone, and that's taken advantage that we were able to pass by through the Red Sea without any tension.
Another question, please. Maybe we'll have time for one more question after this.
Thank you, sir. My question is to Naila ma'am, and you mentioned as to how Oman's geographic location has been beneficial, and as to how you all cover a lot of frameworks within the decarbonization space, green ammonia, e-ethanol, etc. But convincing the consumer to shift to these newer frameworks, is it challenging? Have you faced any sorts of pushback? How do you navigate this?
So if we're looking at the renewable space, I think I have not seen any pushback. I've seen lots of demand to move away from fossil fuel where possible, to move to a renewable source. Often it's more economically benefit, plus it reduces your carbon footprints. It allows those products that end up using the power to be more green, and then unlocks other markets for those products, for the customers that end up using it. So in terms of renewable power, we see a large pickup on that. In terms of looking at low carbon molecules, we're still in early phases to be able to say whether or not there's a challenge there. In terms of where we are with our projects, we're looking at both at blue and green. As you saw the world, there is a bit of thawing towards green, and there's a bit of reluctance toward green hydrogen, but I still think that there's going to be a market for it. We do have already customers hopefully within country. Green steel is on the rise, hopefully in Oman, and we're hoping that will be a natural customer for green hydrogen. In terms of looking at green ammonia, which would probably be mostly for export, either looking at probably the eastern market or even the western market, because we're equidistant with respect to our geographic location. We see a number of initiatives within those countries in terms of regulatory CFD that allows for the sale, but we're not yet at that stage where we can apply for that or apply for those programs. Looking at e-fuels, there's a number of initiatives where we're looking at e-fuels. These are studies we're doing, as my colleague from Asyad had mentioned, Engineer Assam. We're looking at e-methanol, e-natural gas, sustainable aviation fuels. There's a number of those, number of parties that have been interested where we're doing studies with them, such as Lamborghini, Airbus. So we still think that there's going to be a market for that, but it's still a little bit early in terms of where we are in our studies to get to the point where we want to sign offtake agreements.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? Oh, one more. Okay, this is probably the last question.
Thank you, panel. I'm Janal Dushyant. I have a question on shipbuilding. Currently, India, as you all know that, and you have highlighted that, sea trade is the backbone of economy. As of now, India's share in the global market is about 0.06% of the entire shipbuilding market. China, Japan, and South Korea control almost 85% of that. Adani Group had announced a shipbuilding project in Mundra. But given the fact that the vision of India talks of 60% growth by 2033, is there a more concrete plan as far as India is concerned of incorporating the private sector into shipbuilding? Thank you.
Well, thank you. So we have EC approval to have the shipyard in Mundra, but we have not decided yet to build it. Of course, we are doing the feasibility study. Shipbuilding is same as economy of scale. It's a chicken and egg story, which comes first. I do believe that before shipbuilding, India should build the container manufacturing capability, because of which the whole trade is impacted. But in addition to the container manufacturing, shipbuilding, as the cargo grows, as the business grows, definitely it will be an integral part of the whole value chain. Having said that, we recently finalized 3 to 4 years of contracts with Cochin Shipping. I do believe that from technology viewpoint and from shipbuilding capability viewpoint, India has it. I have seen some of the shipbuilding facilities. I have in Middle East. I have been to Europe, and I would see the talent and technology exists. It's just a question of when that tipping point will come between the capital-intensive industry versus the return on capital. In my view, that should come soon, because as you correctly said, that we are talking about by 2030, multiplication of the ports capability, the new projects like Vardhman or Andaman Nicobar and so on, definitely they will bring in huge cargo. And at that point, the ships building, not only for domestic purpose, but also for export purpose, will be solving the purpose. Hope it answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you to my co-panelists for this interesting discussion. This leaves us with one thought, that everywhere in the world today we are seeing big countries and big economies realize the importance of indigenization, of going back, whether you hear it in Make in America again, or you hear Atmanirbhar Bharat again. Everywhere in the world, economies are bringing back indigenization to themselves. This is a question open for the Indian Ocean region, that if the Indian Ocean region countries, many of them big and small, don't want just to end up being market to some external players, then should they be thinking about a policy framework, about a way of working where there is an indigenization of businesses here, where solutions to the economic problems are found by businesses here which are sustainable and which allow them to become prosperous and share that prosperity within the region. Because I think the alternative to not doing that will end up that, as you said, that smaller economies that will not have scale and size will become very vulnerable to bigger economies and outside players for their markets to be exploited. So I think this is a matter we need to discuss in forthcoming Indian Ocean conferences, even with greater depth, that how can we come up with some ideas where we can help this region being able to, as I said, is a big market in itself. It's 20% of the world's market. Create businesses that can become viable and sustainable here and find solutions to the problems here. So thank you once again to my co-panelists for your time.
This brings us to the conclusion of this insightful discussion. A sincere thank you to our chair and esteemed speakers for sharing their expertise and valuable perspectives. To express our appreciations, I would now invite Mr. Shuriya Doval to present a small gift as a token of our gratitude to each speaker. So first to Mr. Ashwani Gupta, and then first is Ms. Najla Al-Jamali, and second is Mr. Ashwani, and third is Mr. Assam Al-Shaybani. Thank you once again, everyone. Thank you. If everyone can wait just a moment for our final session in 5 minutes, we will be hosting His Excellency Sayyid Badr, Foreign Minister of the Sultanate of Oman, and His Excellency Jaideep Mazumadar, Secretary East, Minister of External Affairs of India, and Dr. Ram Madhav, President of Indian Foundation. So in 5 minutes, just be seated. Oli. Please be seated. We are almost ready to start the next session. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, kindly have a seat as our next session is about to start.
Okay, then. Hello?
By the way. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, after 2 insightful, busy days, it's almost time to say goodbye, for our final special session is about to start. It is my honor to invite His Excellency Sayyid Badr al-Busaidi, Foreign Minister of the Sultanate of Oman, His Excellency Jaideep Mazmudar, Secretary East, Ministry of External Affairs of India, Dr. Ram Madhav, President of India Foundation, to conclude the 8th Indian Ocean Conference. The floor is all yours, Your Excellencies.
Thank you. Friends, we have come to the end of this two-day very significant event at Muscat, Oman. We are, of course, this is the sentiment that I'm expressing on behalf of each and every participant, that the hospitality extended by His Excellency, the Foreign Minister of Oman, Syed Badr, and his team deserves a big round of applause from all of us. So we basically requested him for some more time in the end, for 30 minutes. He has kindly agreed to spend another 30 minutes with us. What we thought was, for some time, we will keep it as an open house. Any of you have any views, suggestions, or questions, you may please come to one of these 2 mics. Be brief, just introduce and make your comment. In the end, we would probably request Honorable Minister to say a few words as the concluding message to all of us. Yes, the floor is now open. Please feel free. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. These were 2 very wonderful days of the 8th Indian Ocean Conference. I have just one thought. We have emphasized so much on connectivity. We have talked about how to avoid disruptions. We have a lot of frameworks, though. We have Sagar, we have Asia-Africa Growth Corridor, we have Blue Dot, and so on. Can we get all of these together and have something which is more comprehensive? Are there lessons to be learned from these existing ones? How do we go forward from here on? Thank you.
Any more? Kimji Saab.
Your Excellency Ram Madhavji, Your Excellency Syed Badr, Secretary East, a thought on education. We talk about the Indian Ocean countries, we talk about education. Today, when you look at Indian students or Arab students looking at alternatives to education from their own country, they only look at going west. what is it that we're missing out on doing over here to retaining them either in the continent or in the ocean countries? Is there something which we can do together in terms of creating an educational platform or an educational institution which will help them retain? Is this just the lure of the jobs and economy that takes them to West? What happened to the education of the East?
Thank you. Yes. Please come to the mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I ask my question, I just wanted to thank His Excellency and everyone here for a very, very enlightening sessions and a very nice conference. So really, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here today. I just have one small comment, is that, of course, the sessions were very enlightening and very, very useful. But maybe since we are a very big family, how can we improve on our investment opportunities? I mean, if there can be more sessions for us to benefit from each other, how can we bring our investments together to make us even more stronger? So maybe if we can consider this in our future conferences. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
First, I would like to thank His Excellency Foreign Minister of Oman and India Foundation for excellent India-Ocean Conference. I just wanted to make a suggestion that since we do have representation from the governments coming to the Indian Ocean Conference, we had these thematic sessions. Could IOC also consider in future looking at the opportunity of having the ministers or the deputy ministers who are present here, our governments represented at some level, to have a separate session where the governments can converse and talk about. It could be a closed door session, indoor session, but it would facilitate discussion. The question that was raised yesterday, that we know the challenges, we know what we need to do, but then how do we go about it? Should regional organizations play the role, or should we have a more comprehensive platform to take forward the ideas? So if there is a platform available to the government representatives, perhaps there would be that kind of discussion possible.
Thank you, sir. Yes, please.
Thank you, Ram Madhavji, and all the dignitaries on the dais. I am Dr. Mahendra Sharma. I am Chancellor of a university in Gujarat. I attended the sessions here, and I'm really thankful that there is a thought in line with what His Excellency Pankaj Khimji just spoke about a concept which I heard was Indian Ocean Academy. And the thought process on green shipping initiatives, 100% eco-friendly vessels, and creation of green corridor, and low emission engines in the ships, and a lot of R&D which needs to be done for green engineering, for shipping like LNG, hydrogen, ammonia, and other kinds of initiatives. So there need to be a lot of courses which needs to be developed. Partnerships have to come around, and probably courses related to underwater farming and other kinds of high-end initiatives. And probably this might be one of the initiatives which should be considered by the partnering countries of Indian Ocean to look at a very strong maritime education skilling R&D and those initiatives. So what should be done in this as collectively? That would be my question to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ambassador Tirunait.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Excellency, for the kind hospitality. I was just thinking, and I think since you congratulations on starting this economic conclave, perhaps it could be blended in future with business per se. For example, on the sidelines of the conference, we could think of having some kind of technology business exhibition. The Indian lot of technology companies coming in the country and could display their products, give their demonstrations alongside. So perhaps in future we could consider that in expanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
My name is Giridhar Mamidi. I come from Bharat. I am an analyst and I am an activist. And thanks a lot for the hospitality that you extended to all of us here, Your Excellency. My question is, Indian Ocean region, we all have a lot of connectivity as far as culture is concerned. And our cultural relations go back to maybe the Mohenjo-daro Harappa period, which is like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 years back. Somewhere we seem to have lost the connection of it. Probably the governments of Oman and Bharat, if they could re-establish these cultural connectivity, probably it will bring our hearts together much better. That's my simple suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Bharuch Mishra, this probably will be the last comment, I believe.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. Thank you, sir. It's a tremendous experience for me personally, and the experience of hospitality of Oman is beyond words. Thank you so much for everything, sir. It's a great learning for quite a few of the delegates like me who come from the private sector. I'm Varuchi Mishra and the Group CEO for Net Enterprises, which is into engineering and project management consultancy for energy transition projects and oil and gas projects. One request to the India Foundation and the leadership present in the room is there is room for technical collaboration in dealing with everything that's happening in the Indian Ocean. So if you really drilled down and looked at the data, which is the metocean data available for large areas in the oil and in the offshore or in the Indian Ocean, it will not be there because these are based on certain models, etc. And we haven't done a lot in offshore winds, for example. And there is a huge potential to really use the seas to deliver us the energy, not only oil and gas, which is anyways being done, but for the winds and for tidal energy, etc. So if a group could be made through the aegis of the India Foundation and all this forum, where the countries collaborate to figure out how we can completely exploit the energy that the Indian Ocean is able to offer to us. And Indian Ocean, all the oceans are a huge sink for CO2 actually, but when it gets heated up, the amount of CO2 that it can retain is reduced because it diffuses into the atmosphere. So I was just making a request for a technical collaboration among the countries who are participating here. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Friends, we have come to the end of this conference, almost to the end of it, a few more minutes. In Hindu epics, there is a character called Hanuman. He had a curse that he wouldn't realize his real strength, real potential for some reason in his childhood. Somebody had to remind him that you have so much strength. Indian Ocean region is like Hanuman. We always thought that we need to be Indo-Pacific or somebody else to be relevant, but Indian Ocean itself is a very relevant region, very natural region, and finally, as just now it was mentioned, as a natural region with cultural and civilizational connectivity. It's not just trade connectivity, supply chain connectivity, but civilizational and cultural connectivity. That realization India Foundation has been trying to generate that kind of a, or invoke that kind of a realization in the countries of the region. We find that more and more countries now realize that we are a potential region, we should work together. And not that somebody should acknowledge it or somebody should give certificates about it, but even Western powers today understand that Indian Ocean standalone is an important region. We have to listen to the voices of the Indian Ocean region. And talking about Indian Ocean region, Oman is as a very important partner, not just for India, but generally an important country in this region, playing a very important navigational role for many, many centuries, many millennia rather. We are very happy that this edition was hosted by the government of Oman, especially the Foreign Ministry of Oman, led by His Excellency Foreign Minister. There can be no better way to end this conference than by listening to his concluding words of wisdom, his advice. But before that, I would also like to ask Dr. Jaideep Majumdar. Of course, Government of India, his Secretary of East, Government of India has been the pillar of strength behind this series of events. If he has to thank the hosts from our side.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ram Madhavji. It is in a way fitting that the Indian Ocean Conference, the 8th Indian Ocean Conference, has had its largest ever participation from member states of the littoral of the Indian Ocean and from beyond in Oman. Because Oman, in a way, has been integrative of this whole region for millennia, through trade, through culture, through people-to-people relations. And therefore, I thank, from the bottom of my heart, His Excellency, the Foreign Minister of Oman, and the Foreign Ministry for really going out of their way to pulling out all the stops for having made this conference so successful and for our stay here in Muscat so enjoyable and so successful in a way, because so many of us have met so many of our counterparts during these last 2 days and exchanged so much. The interventions made by delegates here have one common thread. And that common thread, whether it is we are talking about technology, we are talking about education or skilling of our youth, or enhancing trade relations. There's a whole list of 7 speakers who asked questions. But I looked at those questions not as questions, but as actually searching suggestions for us on the way to go forward. And it is fitting that it is here in Oman that we are actually looking at how to integrate this region in so many ways. There is much that is happening. There is much that we need to put out there to publicize what we are doing. I can say that from the time of COVID to recent developments globally, the lesson that we all learn is that we have to work together in this region. Outside powers can help us, can assist us, but it is essential that we come together to solve our common problems, our common challenges together. And these are all the challenges that speaker after speaker today in the last 15 minutes recounted about how we can work together in the future. These are all excellent suggestions, whether it is in business or in people-to-people relations, in culture, in education. And I think this lays out the agenda for us as we go forward into the 9th round. And I would request the India Foundation if they could put together a paper on all these suggestions so that it can be circulated and given wide publicity to allow us all to think more deeply about how we can collaborate in this region. And I once again thank His Excellency Said Badr for
being a wonderful host for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. May I request you to?
Thank you, Ram, for the initiative to invite me on this final round of the conference. First of all, I'm really humbled to hear all the good remarks and the kind words expressed towards me personally, but also towards my country. It's been an enormous honor to have you all here under one roof as a big family. And this is something really very, very heartwarming for me and for my colleagues. So I wish to really, first of all, to thank every one of you for being here. I want to thank the organizers. I want to thank the Indian Foundation for the initiatives to have Oman as the host for this 8th round of the conference. And I will look forward to many more conferences to attend in the various countries around the Indian Ocean. I think the various questions just being asked and suggestions are extremely constructive, to say the least. It only signals to me that there is a very, very strong wealth of goodwill, of positivity, of passion to succeed and to win, not just for a particular aspect of the Indian Ocean, but for us all. And I think this approach should be the guiding principle always for this conference, for all of us, as we belong to this one big family of the Indian Ocean. So I really, my only concluding remarks and advice is to continue along the path of this positive spirit among us. There will always be challenges. As long as there is life on Earth, there will always be challenges. And these challenges should really inspire us to work together as partners, as friends, to address common challenges together and find common solutions together. I think the mere fact of bringing together policymakers from governments alongside the business leaders and the private sector and also academia, I think they have a very important role to play in our deliberations, because we all have our various ambitions, aspirations. If we put our minds together, I think we can go a long way in addressing these aspirations. We have also, the Indian Ocean is blessed with the energy of the youth and the young people in almost every country that is represented here. I think we ought to empower the young generations more and give them the tools they need to really create and innovate. This is, I think, something extremely important for the future generations. There will be different needs for each generation to come, different requirements, new technologies, new circumstances. So I really want to put the power in their hands to come up with the solutions. And I really like some of the questions. I think education is an extremely important platform that can bring us together, research and development, innovations. There's really plenty of ideas that will be, I think, yet to come that we don't know about. So I think we should always keep an open mind, a flexible approach, and I think we can really bring more prosperity, more growth for all of us in this region and beyond this region. The whole world needs us, needs this region to prosper. I think prosperity in one part of the world, it means prosperity for the others. There is, as I said probably in my remarks yesterday, there is more to bring us together and to bond us together than there is to divide us. So I think we should focus on the positive elements that bring us together, that bring a better future for now, for the future generations, with those generations working together as well. So I thank you again, really. I don't want to talk too much, but I really would look forward to seeing you again and again in Oman. We have an open door, an open heart for all of you. Thank you very much again. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. After your such very humble but very important message, all that remains is a formal vote of thanks. I request Captain Alok Bansal, who is the organizing secretary of the Indian Ocean Conference Organizing Committee, to propose a formal vote of thanks.
With this concluding session, the 8th Indian Ocean Conference, which took us on voyage to new horizons of maritime partnership, comes to an end. I'm sure you all enjoyed this fascinating voyage which brought you to this exotic place. It was in 2016 that India Foundation felt the need of organizing this conference to get various stakeholders in the Indian Ocean region to come together and deliberate on mutual concerns to evolve a way forward. The conference that started in Singapore traversed through Colombo, Hanoi, Male, Abu Dhabi, Dhaka, and Perth before arriving in Muscat, which each conference, the stature of the conference has enhanced, and so has the participation. The aim of the conference was to bring policymakers from various countries and scholars on one forum so that ideas would be exchanged and an Indian Ocean community could evolve that would generally be on the same page as far as issues concerning the region are concerned. The conference has been unprecedented in terms of ministerial participation as well as in the number of countries that were represented. What was even more remarkable was the fact that almost everyone agreed to cooperate in the maritime domain and also to establish a rule-based order to manage the maritime global commons. In keeping with the times where economics has replaced ideology as the guiding principle of international relations, we started an economic conclave with this conference. There is no doubt we have come a long way, but still a lot needs to be done. Such a mammoth conference would not have been feasible without the unstinted support of various organizations and individuals, and I'll be failing in my duty if I do not express our gratitude to them. First of all, I'd like to thank His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq Al Sayed and his government, without which it would have been difficult to even conceive this conference. I would specifically like to express our gratitude to His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, the Foreign Minister of the Sultanate, who has been an integral part of the conference and a member of the Presidium for the last few years. His wonderful team at the Foreign Ministry worked tirelessly to make this conference a grand success. We were fortunate to have the unstinted support of the Foreign Ministry of Oman for this conference. Paucity of time and norms prevent me from taking names, but some of them worked overnight to meet our requests at extremely short notice. I would also like to thank Dr. S. Jaishankar, the Honorable External Affairs Minister of India, for delivering the keynote address and his continuing support. It would not be out of place to say that the conference owes its existence to him a great deal, and consequently, he has been associated with all editions of this conference. I'd also like to thank His Excellency Ranil Wickremesinghe, former President of Sri Lanka, for taking time out to be with us and deliver the valedictory address. We have been singularly fortunate to have him with us in 7 out of 8 conferences. His attachment and involvement with IOC has been truly unparalleled. The conference acquired gravitas from the presence of the esteemed speakers. I'd like to thank all our speakers and moderators, including ministers, senior officials, and scholars, who came from various corners of the world, taking time out from their busy schedule to be with us. We thank His Excellency Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, Minister of Foreign Affairs for Singapore, who has been associated with most of our previous conferences, and other members of organizing committee in helping us to come out with a perfect program and subsequently in helping us with the conference. I would also like to acknowledge the continuous support that we have been receiving from our partner, S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, who have been associated with us since the first edition in 2016. We have also been fortunate in having the complete support of Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, especially Mr. Jaideep Majumdar, Secretary East, and his team from Public Policy and Research Division. Special thanks to our sponsors, Greenco, Adani Group, Jindal International, Mega Engineering, Lulu Group, State Bank of India, Novata, Bharat Petroleum, Gas Authority of India Limited, Hindustan Petroleum, Indian Oil Corporation, Oil India Limited, and Oil and Natural Gas Commission. I would also like to express our gratitude to all the foreign missions in Oman and India for their support, members from various media houses for covering this event, and also to the staff and team of Oman Convention and Exhibition Center, JW Marriott and Crown Plaza for their warm hospitality. I would be failing in my duty if I do not thank Team India Foundation, led by our President, Dr. Ram Madhav. The conference owes its existence to him a great deal. He has been the main force behind the conference, behind its conception and execution. Those of you who have traveled from far and wide, the IF team was available to you round the clock to answer your queries. They have literally burned the midnight oil to ensure this conference materializes. I would specifically like to name Professor Rupa Vasudevan, a member of our governing council, who needs special mention for taking time out from her busy schedule to be here for the meetings, but also to provide us all assistance in Muscat. And finally, the secret of our success in Muscat has been a human dynamo, Prakash Nair, who is generally considered as an Omani in India and an Indian in Oman, who could resolve any problem that we faced. If you had any problem, you just had a person to go to, and he would resolve all your problems. So this conference, to a very great extent, owes a very great lot to him. In the end, the success of the conference eventually depends on you, the delegates. During this conference, over 400 delegates from over 40 countries, apart from India and Oman, as well as 5 multilateral organizations participated. Your continued presence throughout shows that the conference has been gaining greater visibility. In the past few years, we have been taking this opportunity to announce the venue of the next conference. But the growing popularity of this conference has actually created a problem of plenty. There are a lot of stakeholders who want to host this conference, and we thought it would be better to keep it a suspense. But I hope you'll continue to patronize this conference. Au revoir. See you next year at some exotic location in the Indian Ocean region. Thank you.